Hey, good afternoon and welcome to our last meeting of February. Our invocation tonight will be given by Councilman Martinez, and respects to the flag will be given by Councilman Jeff Roberts. Please rise.
Father God, we come to you tonight asking you to continue to watch over this city that we love in Anderson, Lord. We ask you to bless these councilmen here as we have discussions. Bless our hearts and our minds so that we can think responsibly and echo the voices of our constituents, Lord. We thank you for the abundance of blessings that you've provided and ask for your guiding hand to lead us forward. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes of our first meeting in February, the February 12th meeting, have been distributed. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes? Not hearing any, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a first by Dr. Thompson, a second by Mr. Newton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes pass unanimously. We have just one item of old business, and that item is request second reading of ordinance 2403 to revise the PDD plan document, district document for Bailey Court Commons located at 601 Simpson Road. Ms. McEwen.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Maurice McKenzie.
Thank you. This comes to you tonight for second reading. You heard this at your February 12th meeting and approved it on first reading, but I'll go over it quickly as far as what the proposal is. But in 2022, you annexed approximately 30 acres, which is known as Bailey Creek Commons, for a townhouse community. At the time, you also annexed an adjacent piece of property. It was a little over 60 acres that has frontage on Old Williamson Road for a single-family residential detached development. But this request only pertains to the 30 acres, the Bailey Creek Commons, which has the address and the frontage on Simpson Road, as the mayor just mentioned. But the applicant's requesting to revise the PDD document and the language in it to preserve additional wetlands, which will help mitigate stormwater runoff, also construction costs for their development. And the changes that we're looking at only pertain to the two or a few sets of buildings that are closest to the wetlands, and that's also the area that's near the entrance of the property. But this really only affects about 10% of the units out there on the site, so 90% of this remains unchanged. So this really affects 10% of the development. And just to give you quick points here as far as what the revisions are, it will reduce the number of units a little bit from 178 to 174, so 178 to 174. It will reduce the impervious surface. It will also reduce the land disturbance by almost 2 acres, which will have varying effects on the development. And specifically with buildings 1 through 5, they're asking to widen the lots, but to decrease the depths of those lots. And for buildings 1 through 4, again, these are the buildings closest to the wetlands, they want to decrease the front yard setbacks from 20 feet to 10 feet. Also add language to have double car garages in those because of the reduction in setback. The language also is being revised to ensure that cars will not be parked over the curb into the street because of the reduced setback. It does say that it will require 23 feet from the back of the curb to the front of the garage or building. So again, that eliminates parked cars overhanging into the street. And you can see the other details in the attached PDD document in your packet. But again, this came before you on February 12th. You approved it on first reading. The Planning Commission also considered this at their February 6th meeting, and they recommend approval of it as well. So be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. And we did talk in depth, but between now and the last meeting, are there any other questions or comments?
Mayor, I'll just add, this is in my district here. I think a lot of us, the feedback that we receive from our constituents is to try to keep the land as natural as possible. Anytime I see preservation of wetlands and setbacks and making it feel more natural in the space, that's appealing to me. So I'll make the motion that, that we approve on second reading as written.
We have a first by Mr. Martinez,
Second.
second by Mr. Lockridge. Further discussion?
There's a question. Maurice, where do we stand at with the traffic pattern, what's going to be done along Simpson Road there? Because I'm starting to see a lot more traffic being even backed up further at later times during the morning, going back towards the development. And, you know, what's going, and there are more and more wrecks happening at Calhoun and Simpson Road at that four-way stop sign, people just blowing through. What are we going to do?
That is an area we're looking at, with our long-range plans, through our ACATS policy committee. They are working on a long-range plan now, ready to adopt one, and then that's going to be kind of a placeholder for a few months before we look at a wider range, long-range plan. But in that whole corridor, which you were talking about, Calhoun Street, Simpson Road, also Old Williamson Road, that area, we've talked many times about Midway Road, Harriet Circle, and all of that. That whole corridor is going to be looked at for various traffic improvements to help with congestion, especially at intersections like you're talking about.
I know there's a lot of foot pedestrians that goes along Simpson Road from the fire department all down, all the way up to Old Webster Road. I know we had talked at one time about putting sidewalks on one side, of the road up there as well. So I hope that's still being explored as well.
Yes, it's something we need to look at and continue pursuing, no doubt.
Any other questions, comments? We had a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously on the second and final reading. Thank you. We have 6 items of new business, and our first item is request consideration of the International Network of Michelin Cities Engagement Management Proposal. Mr. McEwen.
We're very excited to be hosting over 25 countries, representatives from over 25 countries and 5 continents coming to downtown Anderson. This event proposal helps manage the event, and we did receive funding from the Department of Commerce on this. Ms. Beth Batson is here to go over this proposal for your consideration. Ms. Batson.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with you tonight to request consideration of the International Network of Michelin Cities Event Management Proposal. As it says in your packet, the city has engaged H3 Marketing, LLC, located here in Anderson, to conduct event management, consultation, and implementation as part of the city's plan to host the International Network of Michelin Cities in April of 2024. H3 Marketing has worked with us to plan logistics, execution, vendor partnerships, and the proposed arrangement will include the cost of services associated with staging, audio-visual equipment, sound, lighting, special effects, graphic design, and general execution of the event. This fits within our strategic goals and our strategic plan, the one that says we will attract partners by cultivating entrepreneurial networks and relationships with legacy institutions, major industries, and global city partners. As you know, we will be the first city in the United States to host this event. We'll have 200 visitors from around the world that will include mayors, council members, and administrators. The theme of our conference is Drivers of Economic Development. And in recognition of the importance of this event for the entire state, the Department of Commerce has granted us funding that will assist us with conference production, global marketing, and all expenses associated with the delegates visiting Anderson. We call this an event, everybody, but in reality, this is 15 separate and distinct events across the week that we will be producing. The role of H3 has been to partner with us, as I mentioned before, so that we can produce a world-class event worthy of the city of Anderson. They have built the infrastructure we need to upgrade our venues and give us state-of-the-art production amenities throughout the whole week. And they've brought their extensive experience to bear to help us make certain that we have selected the most qualified vendors across all categories. So, as we said, we have funding from the Department of Commerce for $600,000 for this, and staff recommends the approval of event production and management proposal to H3 Marketing at an amount not to exceed $400,000.
Thank you, Ms. Batson. I'll open it up to questions, comments. I know we probably anecdotally talked about this conference, especially last year about this time when we had, I guess, a pre-conference, the announcement of the event. But I'll open it up to questions. Mr. Stewart.
I know the State Department of Commerce is awarding us $600,000, our budget's $400,000, so the difference goes where?
Yes, sir. There are more expenses than just the ones that are going through H3. We will have hotels, ground transportation, expert speakers. There's a whole array of other expenses that aren't included in what H3 handles for us.
All right, thank you.
Our total budget actually that we put in is $800,000. And so we have these like speakers, other things that we mentioned. So we got a healthy budget.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I know that Ms. Batson has worked tirelessly over the last, how many years, Beth?
Well, it's coming up on 2 years. We've had a big a team of lots of people
Yeah.
working on it.
So we are honored in Anderson to be named. What is it? The name that we got?
Oh, we're hosting the International Network of Michelin Cities. Yes,
And
ma'am.
we're the only city in South Carolina?
We're the
Well,
first
world.
city in the
This
United
part of the
States
world
to be
named.
chosen, and we had to earn that right, and we were
It's
chosen.
an
We
honor,
applied.
and I don't know what do we need to do.
It's a general
recommend
approval. Mhm.
I move that we approve whatever we need to do to make this an
First,
honorable, a beautiful event.
first by Dr. Thompson,
I'll second Dr. Thompson's
second by the Mayor Pro
request,
Tem.
and thankful for all the hard work as well that went into securing the Department of Commerce grant. I know that was not just a hand-me-out, so
No, it
thanks to
wasn't.
all.
Yes, and we have
Really
Yes.
looking forward to,
Thanks to Mayor and
Yeah.
David really were both integral in making that happen.
and our legislative delegation as well. So
yes.
really appreciate their help
everyone.
on this.
It's great, looking forward to it.
Good, thanks. Any other comments for our first and second?
I think this is a great move. I know Emily and her entire team, they do a great job, so looking forward to it.
100%.
Yep.
Good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
I would say too that Beth has driven this process, but she probably has a committee of 30.
We have at least 35 people on the
people.
main committee and about 60 volunteers from the community that are doing a great job. We're
Yeah.
grateful to the support. We're grateful to Emily Holland. She's sitting here. Her team has expanded our bandwidth in ways that are innumerable. So thank you very much.
Thanks all. Thank you.
I have one question. What is the economic benefit for the city? Because I know that there's going to be a huge economic benefit for the city. I know we're spending some money to make it happen. But I know that I think people need to understand that this is not money we're going down the drain. There's going to be a benefit from it.
Exactly. Well, every bit of this money we're talking about will be spent here. Plus, we'll have 200 people coming, spending money for a week. But we also know that the economic benefits of this will expand way past that week. Like we mentioned, that's part of why the state had such faith in this, because there'll be economic development benefits for the state for who knows how long to come.
It continues to market our region as a great economic development region in the world, just as the Upstate Alliance does a great job doing that internationally for us. This just expands on that and allowing us to host this locally.
I just wanted to add, I think it's smart of us to partner with H3. I've seen them, I've worked directly with them, with other organizations. There's a lot that goes into putting on events like this, and every event that I've been associated with H3, they've made it go off without a hitch, so I have extreme confidence in them.
We're very, very fortunate. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Our next item of new business is request consideration to amend the Cox Creek Interceptor engineering contract with Ardura. Mr. McEwen.
Okay, thank you. This is the big Cox Creek trunk line project that we pursued and completed construction, finishing up some of the details of it now. That went along Rocky River Creek up through the Anderson University, and the name slips my mind. The Conservancy, the Rocky River Conservancy. Yes. And so with that, Mr. Scott Bass is going to go over the request here for the change that's needed.
Thank you. As Mr. McEwen stated, we currently have a contract with Ardura or Design South Engineers, as they were known, for $305,010 for the construction admin, design, and bidding of the Cox Creek project. We still have a few items that we need to address. Funding assistance, permitting assistance, funding assistance for $8,000, permitting assistance of $57,000, and resident engineering for $88,000 for a total of $153,000 that we would amend that original contract for. This fits within our strategic goal of assuring sustainable growth by pursuing long-term infrastructure projects and maintaining sewer treatment capacity. We would fund it with through the utilities budget. In summary, staff recommends amending the existing contract with Ardura Engineers for funding assistance, permitting assistance, and resident engineering services for the Cox Creek Sewer Interceptor Project in the amount of $153,000, bringing the total contract to $458,010.
Thank you, Mr. Banks. Any questions, comments?
What was our original budget on this project?
As far as the
Total cost?
Just over $3.9 million.
3.9?
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Mr. Roberts, Jeff Roberts?
Understanding that Ardura is the current design engineer.
Yes, sir.
We knew that these items were not included in the original agreement, original contract. So we anticipated this.
Correct, and we requested further that, engineer be on site, eyes on it, throughout their project, and that's one of the things for quality assurance we've been doing, and that wasn't originally included. And as well, the permitting assistance, you kind of don't know where that's going to go sometimes because you're dealing with the Corps of Engineers. We're in the wetland area, and so that got us expanded just a little bit.
Well, the $8,000 funding assistance,
They helped us with the, not ARPA, we had RIA grant. We had a $500,000 RIA grant that they helped.
Which is State Rural Infrastructure Authority grant, and so with that, it's a lot of putting the preliminary engineering report, your final engineering report together, and you got to put it in their format to submit it, and that's best coming from the engineers.
okay, that's, okay.
Yes, and it's quite an extensive application process that goes as part of that RIA application.
That's fine.
Anything else, guys?
That was.
So
Ms. Stewart?
when they gave us that price originally, of that 3.9 million, they talked about permitting and stuff. I'm still trying to understand, how would you not, I'm just trying to figure out why are they coming back again?
Yes, sir. This design firm particularly doesn't include those in their base. Many of our other engineering design firms include that in their base. But in our previous experience throughout all the projects we've done with them, they don't, and so it's variable. And so in this case, we need your approval to move forward with completing the procurement ultimately for it.
So basically come back like a change order.
That's how they operate.
But to Jeff's point, we knew it wasn't there. And fortunately, I guess the other engineers that we have on our list of services would include these items within their original proposal.
Yes, so the other ones, we work with over 10 engineering firms right now, and they bundle it up together in their price, but throughout, I know Mr. Caldwell's time and so forth with us, they've always itemized this out as a separate variable expense.
So we don't expect to exceed anything further?
This is it. This finishes the project.
Yes, sir.
For phase one. Remember, we three phases to the project, but this completes phase one, it's done.
Any other questions, comments?
I move that we adopt the system, or amend the existing engineering contract with Ardero Engineers.
We have a first by Mr. Lockridge,
Second.
second by Dr. Thompson. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Banks.
Thank you.
Our next item of new business is request consideration of a contract to hire a headline performer for the 2024 soiree. Mr. McEwen.
We have a lot of fun stuff coming up. This is one of them, Mr. Strickland.
Thank you, Mr. McEwen. Mayor and Council, what you have before you tonight is a request to hire a headline performer for the Friday evening concert at the soiree. The last couple of years, the Friday evening concert has become the main concert for the weekend. It really kicks the weekend off. I am beholden to the soiree committee on this one. They've done a wonderful job over the last couple of years, planning the event, executing the event, finding good talent. It is an arts event, so in addition to musical performance, we have stage and visual arts as well. We've had artist vendors throughout Main Street for the entire weekend, and you've seen over the last couple of years how fun that weekend is and what a big turnout it brings to the city. For this particular performance, I cannot release the name of the headliner publicly, but we are proposing to contract with William Morris Endeavor Entertainment, LLC, and PD Country Enterprises, Inc. For the amounts listed. It's a good act. The soiree committee did a good job finding this one, and we'll be blessed to have them for sure.
Good. So for us, any questions, comments in regards to the approval?
And I will add, this is a budgeted expense within that soiree budget, so this is not a surprise.
What's the relationship between William Morris Endeavor and PD Entertainment Enterprises?
They're the producer and showrunner for the act.
Okay.
Hey, listen, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least just mention how good of a job, not only the city, but specifically, I'm just going to mention Caroline Gaddis. I know that she had a deep passion to see the soiree come back, and talk about somebody really doubling down on a good bet. I mean, this has been a really good event for the city of Anderson, for our constituents. I mean, we've drawn some extremely large crowds, and I can remember my first experience, I guess running it back with the soiree, seeing Main Street just from one side to the other, the amount of heads. I mean, that I feel like, that's one of our responsibilities as council members, to support events like this. And when it kind of hits every audience that's out there, from adults to children, it gets me really excited. So I mean, I'm not going to make a motion just yet. I just want to let you know that this means a lot to me, that this line item gets a solid look, because I certainly would support it.
Thank you. Anything else, comments?
I want to also say that Caroline's done an excellent job with this, and I look forward to it, so I second the motion.
So, Louis, are
You
you?
do have a motion.
Okay, I would like to make a motion.
Sorry, did you make a motion?
Yeah, well, I thought we might talk a little more, but I will go ahead. I will make a motion that we go ahead and we do the funding for this soiree budget to bring the William Morris Endeavor Entertainment and the PD Country Enterprises together. So,
With that, I will second.
We have a first by Mr. Martinez, second by Dr. Thompson. A passionate first by Mr. Martinez. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Our fourth item of new business, and the next three items are referrals to the Planning Commission, and we'll take each one of them separately. But the first is request consideration of referral to the Planning Commission, a petition annex and zone to combination of R20, single-family residential, and PDD, Planned Development Districts, approximately 45 acres located at 1401 Crestview Road. And again, as a referral, they do come back to us, but please ask any pertinent questions you think you need at the moment. Mr. McCoon?
Okay, Planning Development Department is always, division rather, is always staying busy. And so a lot of items on the agenda tonight. These next three, Mr. Maurice McKenzie will go over.
Very good, thank you. And in your packet, you have a location map, also a conceptual drawing to give you better bearings for the location of the property we're talking about. But the applicant proposes to annex the property into the city limits. It is contiguous to the city for the purpose of developing a single-family residential subdivision and also to carve out a few lots on the Midway Road frontage for single-family development, not part of the actual subdivision, but it is part of the annexation, and the conceptual drawing that you see in your packet can better describe that. But they are requesting two zoning classifications. One's PDD, Planned Development District, and as you know, that has the development specifications for a particular piece of property, and that will be associated with the 92-lot development with the road network that will be constructed on the property. Also, they're requesting a zoning of R20 for the frontage along Midway Road. It appears that they will want to build about 3 or 4 houses along that frontage, and the lots would be at least 20,000 square feet in size. And again, this is a referral coming to you tonight. The Planning Commission will consider this at their March 5th meeting.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie.
I will add one thing,
Mr.
Mr.
McKenzie.
Mayor.
Go right
This-
ahead.
This area, these communities being built out here were part of our strategic annexation roadmap that we had and presented several years ago in anticipation of growth. It's so important for cities to grow into their natural urban development areas. In this case, the private sector saw the need for houses. That needs being fulfilled. It's a variety of different types of houses, different price points. The neat thing about it is there's an amenity center currently under construction that's going to provide access to these different developments, and it's my understanding that this developer here is in talks with also joining in on that amenity center. You have an elementary school there. Of course, it connects to our trails that were recently built, but it maximizes the investment that we already have in this area, from trails to sewer infrastructure, water infrastructure, even though it's not ours, but sewer infrastructure, Station 3 from public safety in that area. Station 3 was built with the anticipation of this area growing out, and so this is part of our roadmap and plan for the city's urban area to continue growing, in this case into new neighborhoods, and housing is such a need right now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
I have a question.
Ms. Lockridge?
I'm in favor of city growth. I think it's absolutely wonderful. But, you know, Mr. Stewart mentioned a while back about the density of the population. Now, I know these lots are 20,000 square feet. They're huge lots. But at the same time, we've got to start thinking about the roads that are out there. We have to start thinking about the infrastructure that's out there. I mean, that is a major concern with the people that live there. And it's a major concern of mine that we're going to overdevelop and not have enough people, not have enough roads to meet the people's demands.
So we can speak to that just a little bit. So it's been planned along with when we had this roadmap for growth in this area. DOT had already recognized the need for traffic improvements in the area. And so it is, they actually have a public meeting tomorrow night at T.L. Hanna High School. Mr. McKenzie can give you the exact time. I have escapes from my mind. But anyways, it is to continue. ACATS, or it was ANATS at the time, had identified, along with SCDOT, improvements in this area for 2 roundabouts. That's continuing, and so they have the preliminary design done. They're working with the owner and developer of the area. They'll move into acquiring right-of-way and construction very quickly as they finish up their public process, and that's something that they have to do.
Something is being done.
It's imminent, yes.
Okay.
It's being done. It's going. They had a traffic model at one time. They came up here and presented the traffic modeling to us, and it did it in a 3D animation. It showed how it was able to carry the vehicle traffic through that area. Now, anytime throughout any city or really anywhere, you can be out in the middle of Centerville Road and there's nonstop traffic on it throughout the entire day. I'll say you do not have that in this area. I've sat there throughout the day at many different times, and you do have your peak hour demands. And so they did build this to accommodate the peak hour demands. Other than that, though, there is times of very little traffic.
Mr. Stewart?
The only thing about that public hearing is that I don't like is that it's in the Tijuana atrium, but there's gonna be nobody present from the DOT to answer questions. If you have any questions, it's just come in and look at pictures, and then you gotta email the DOT with any comments that you have. So if the community really has any questions, there's nobody gonna be live there to answer any questions. That's what the little card said that they mailed out.
I do know a couple of DOT officials will be present. Now, again, I don't know their format and how they're doing that, Mr. Stewart, but I do know that there will be some DOT folks in town tomorrow to attend the meeting. Again, I don't know the format, but the meeting is tomorrow, February 27th, from 5 to 7 at Tijuana. It's a drop-in type format, is from what we've been informed.
I just want to keep on echoing some of these comments here, because again, I would imagine just based on contiguous lines, this would go in my district. You know, these are presently county areas that have somewhat of a country setting. If I recall, I think, you know, that a lot of the phone calls that I've gotten is that just the landscape is changing. And I get that. Some of that stuff is inevitable. I do believe that most of these roads are two-lane roads. Roundabouts certainly could alleviate maybe some of the flow, but I think naturally, unless we start widening roads or we start adding lanes, I think congestion is natural and it's going to evolve, but I do think it also comes with a lot of heartburn, so we need to be thoughtful and considerate of that as well.
Good.
Especially the congestion that's gonna come off of Old Winston Road down Crestview, you know, till you get to that new roundabout, I guess they're talking about putting in. That's where the bottleneck starts, you know, coming off of Old Winston Road, coming down to Crestview early in the morning.
Well, you know, I think from a long-range planning point of view, I do think there, through the transportation, through ACATS, these type of things are discussed in that committee. Mr. Roberts?
I want to echo, I share the same concerns about the traffic, and I do sit on the ACATS policy committee. And I know this corridor study is already in the queue of projects to be funded. And I guess I will assure you that, you know, that'll be carried forward. We've got 2 other members on ACATS as well. They share the same concerns, I'm positive. But the corridor study includes all of these roads that feed into this area. That you do have Old Williamson Road, Crestview Road, Midway Road. So all of these roads, and you're right, Mr. Martinez, I mean, you know, out of this study will come recommendations. Now, whether that's wider lanes, additional lanes, or whatever.
Or additional paths. You know, many times additional paths, there's a thought process there too. Not just widening, but you have additional options for people to go different
Right,
different
but
ways.
out of this study will come recommendations, and then those recommendations will be determined to be funded and constructed.
But for the purpose of why we're here today is just to pass this referral to the planning commission.
I make a motion, we send this to the planning commission.
First by Mr. Harvin,
Second.
second by Dr. Thompson. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good discussion. We will continue to have that discussion in regards to Mr. Lockridge's point in regards to congestion, density, traffic, and it's what the experts call the built the built environment, the built community. And so we've got to figure out how to manage the built community. Our next item is request consideration of referral to the Planning Commission, a petition to rezone 115 South Jefferson Avenue from R5 single-family residential to LI light industrial. Mr. McEwen.
Again, just a referral, just to read it into the council record. Mr. Maurice McKenzie.
Thank you. This property consists of 4.2 acres on the site. There's an industrial-type building. Also, it's located along a railroad. And for the past several years, it appears that the building has been used as a warehouse, lower-intensity industrial uses. It's zoned R5 single-family residential, so it's been operating as a legal non-conforming use. Now, the applicant is proposing to rezone the property to light industrial so they can operate a bulk products facility for rock and stone. There will be outdoor storage and really a change in the way the land use will be as opposed to what you see now. So because of that, it will lose its non-conforming status and rezoning is required. So they're requesting to rezone it to LI Light Industrial, and we recommend that you refer it to the Planning Commission. Now, we have it scheduled for March 5th, but we are needing more information from the applicant. As a matter of fact, tomorrow afternoon, we have a meeting with the applicant to learn more. So hopefully we can get all the information we need and move it forward. If not, we may have to slow it down a little bit and move it to the April Planning Commission meeting. But nonetheless, if you refer it tonight, it will move it forward to a future Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Just not sure if it'll be the current one that's coming up or another schedule.
That's right. Yes,
Date.
sir.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, thank
John
you.
Roberts.
And, I'm assuming, and I think there's a lot of questions from a lot of us that sit up here with regard to this change, the noise levels, the traffic levels, the everything levels in that specific area. So I hope sounds like that's probably what's being truly addressed, is getting a better understanding, and I hope they'll be present.
Yes,
should it
sir.
make
Yeah,
it
we want to learn all those.
forward for questioning on this end as well. So, but I will make a motion to refer to the Planning Commission.
First by the Mayor Pro Tem, second by Mr. Stewart. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Our last item of new business, request consideration or referral to the Planning Commission, a petition to amend Section 10-2-11 of the City of Anderson zoning ordinance. Ms. McEwen?
Okay, thank you. As we continue to refine plan the city, and we're going through our comprehensive plan review, and we have a lot coming forward on that throughout the spring, summer, and fall. We've also been identifying things along the way that can be improved. This is one of those, and Mr. McKenzie will go over some of the reasons why. Mr.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, when refinements to the zoning ordinance are needed, and which happens on occasion, the process involves a public hearing by the Planning Commission, and then it comes back to you for final approval, much like a rezoning would. And again, Section 10.2.11 of the zoning ordinance addresses the minimum acreage required for planned development districts, PDDs. And currently, the minimum standards are as follows. The planned residential development is 5 acres minimum. To have a planned mobile home development, it's 5 acres. To have a planned commercial development, you must have 10 acres. And then planned industrial developments would require 25 acres in order for it to be classified as a PDD. And as you know, PDDs can provide flexible opportunities for innovative design, open space, a lot of things that the conventional zoning just can't provide. So it may be practical to lessen the minimum acreage requirements for the residential and commercial PDDs. And you know, look at infill developments that we have around town, such as the Murray Franklin site, for instance. It's less than 5 acres. It's about 3 to 4 acres. So right now, it could not qualify as a PDD, but lessening the minimum acreage requirements for the residential districts to, say, 3 acres, that way we could apply a PDD designation on a property such as that. So changing that language and the minimum acreage may better complement all of our development strategies that we want to see moving forward. So we want to move this forward to the Planning Commission on March 5th, and so we make that recommendation tonight.
Thank you, sir. So are the 3 acres and the 5 acres benchmark to surrounding communities?
It varies by community, and there's no set number, but again, it does provide more flexibility. Typically, as you know, that when we see PDDs, it's usually applied to your, well, like we saw earlier today, like a 45-acre tract of land. But again, it can be very useful when you're looking at design elements for smaller projects like the Murray Franklin
I
site.
agree. Any other comments, questions?
I
Mr.
wanna
Stewart?
ask,
Go ahead, Ms. Dr. Thompson, then Mr.
Are
Stewart.
you still doing mobile home development?
Actually, that's a good question to bring up. What we'll probably recommend as we go through the process is to strike planned mobile home development and just have it apply as a residential development. If we ever have a request for a mobile home type development, we can use the residential qualifications for that. But to answer your question, we just have a couple of places in the city where manufactured housing are actually allowed currently.
That is on, Market Street, well, off Market.
Well, that's there. It's actually a legal non-conforming use, I do believe. Then there's a development called Cedar Ridge, which is out Williamston Road as you're heading out of town. That's another area that's zoned for manufactured housing.
Mr. Stewart?
But I think, kind of piggyback on what Dr. Thomas said, I just thought that mobile homes wasn't allowed in the city of Anderson. You know, any going forward, you know, we don't allow that. And, you know, we have some that's there that predated whenever, but I was kind of like Dr. Thomas, wondering why we just don't strike mobile homes from our ordinance, because it's just,
Right. There's a residential, it's called RG, Residential General. That zoning classification does allow mobile homes, but it's only in one place in town, like Cedar Ridge. And like we said, looking at this mobile home development to specify that as is probably not necessary. If we ever see the need to add in a mobile home development in the city through the PDD standards, we can use the planned residential development because it's residential.
Good questions. Any other questions?
make a motion that we refer it to the planning commission.
First by Mr. Stewart. Second by Mr. Lockridge. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. We're at the end of our meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
First by Dr. Thompson. Second by Mr. Harden. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned.